Friday here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Chris Carter and Brian Batko. We're going to be breaking down things. We're going to do something a little different. Instead of just talking about which quarterbacks the Steelers should be looking at, we're going to do a quarterback draft, not of the quarterbacks in the NFL draft, but of who the Steelers could choose as their guy who starts at quarterback on day one of the regular season in 2025. We're going to do that, talk about the Deebo Samuel possibility of adding him to the roster, all here in the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Let's get into it. You are now listening to the North Shore Drive podcast, a show on all things Pittsburgh sports from the writers of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, hosted by Christopher Carter. Hello and welcome to the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with one of our great Steelers beat writers, Brian Batko. And as always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe to this channel to get all of your Monday, Wednesday, Friday episodes of the North Shore Drive podcast, as well as the daily content that comes out from all of our sports writers here at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, like Chipped Ham and Football with Brian Batko on Tuesdays. As always, this show is brought to you by Edgar Snyder Associates. Whether you're injured in a car accident or hurt on the job, Edgar Snyder Associates has helped injured victims for over 40 years recover more than $2 billion on their behalf. If you or a loved one have been seriously injured in an accident, call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. Remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. All right, Brian, we're doing this, man. It's a quarterback draft that we're doing, and we are not picking again. It's not just we can pick players in the NFL draft if we want, but these are players who could potentially be the starter for the Steelers on week one, wherever they play week one, whether it's at Acrisure Stadium or somewhere else, to start off the season. It could be Ireland for all we know, Brian. They could be starting the season now. I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, first snap. We'll look at this as a first snap of the Steelers 2025 season draft, and we can show our teams at the end, and people can let us know, like, between our two teams, which of us is most likely to have the answer to that question. So
yes. Absolutely. All right.
And happy Valentine's Day, by the way, Chris.
Happy Valentine's Day.
How do you feel about Valentine's Day? Are you like it's cool, it's a good holiday, or are you like it's a marketing ploy to get us to celebrate something meaningless and buy cards and gifts?
My fiance is literally on the other side of this wall, so I think it's a lovely holiday. I think it's amazing. All right. But it's a trap.
Very diplomatic answer by you.
No, I think it's just nice to have something to celebrate with your loved one. Yeah, it's always take it that way.
You should be doing. You should treat every day like Valentine's Day with your partner, your spouse.
Wait, is your wife like right next to you as you record?
No, she's at work, but I'm gonna go visit her at work for lunch. That's gonna be our Valentine's Day date.
That's very nice of you. See, I miss Valentine's Day when you were in school, where it just meant that everyone was getting candy all day because everyone brought candy. That's when Valentine's Day meant something.
That's what my son's gonna be doing here probably as we speak.
That's pretty awesome. All right, so Brian Batko, we have to determine who gets first pick in this draft class, and we're going to do you get the first pick, and then second person gets the next two picks.
Pick up basketball rules.
Exactly. I have a vintage Greg Lloyd Steelers. So
that's beautiful.
I found this on the floor at Rodgers Kappa many years ago, and I never let go of it.
Wow, it's quite a keepsake.
Right, exactly. So it sits here on my desk.
Where do you store it? Oh, you put it on your desk. Okay.
Yeah, it's just on my desk. I just have it there. I had like a coin collection thing for years, and then I was like, oh, let me just have this on the desk. I don't know.
But you've moved your desk, I'm sure, at some point, or you've moved the stuff on your desk, and it's always made the transition.
Yep, exactly. It keep it right here in front of me. Just reminds me to what was his saying? Because I can't remember right now. The shirt that he wore.
Or
no, I'm not paid for my disposition. That's why.
Yes.
It reminds me that I'll never take that as a writer. All right. Anyways,
and yet now you sort of are paid for your sunny disposition that we all know and love.
Part.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Anyways, all right. Greg Lloyd's head is heads. Steelers logo is tails. Call it in the air.
Tails.
It's heads. I'm taking first pick.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
And I'm going with Justin Fields because that's the only answer it should be. If the Steelers go with someone else than Justin Fields, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, what are you doing here, guys? But yes, Justin Fields is my first pick of this draft class, because that I think that is the move. I think that's the plan. The only way this would go awry, I think, is if Justin Fields knows that he can get a ton of money from somebody in the open market. Steelers need to get that deal done yesterday to make sure that he doesn't go anywhere. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields is the future franchise quarterback, that he's going to solve everything, but he's younger. He still has a cannon. He still has mobility. He knows how to work in your offense. And now you can build an offense around him, which is something they did not do last year. They built an offense for Russell Wilson. Now they can make things more with Justin Fields in mind, and that can be something that can be maybe a little bit better, but at least get you to 2026 with something at quarterback.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you just said there. And I actually just wrote an analysis piece that's on the Post-Gazette website now about how it is very rare that a failed is subjective, but a first-round pick quarterback who doesn't make it to the end of his rookie deal with his original team to go on to really have much success elsewhere. It just hasn't happened for the most part. Baker Mayfield is kind of the shocking example of that right now. And we'll see with Sam Darnold. He's kind of in position to do that, but man, history is not on the side of Justin Fields in that scenario. But I agree with, you for the most part. And I think some of the concerns about Fields' passing are a little bit overblown. Like he be an accurate passer. I think it's more so the
processing.
The processing, the field vision, and certainly the pocket presence has not always been there for him. So he's got it all, but he's got to have that it factor and be able to put it all together. I don't know that he ever will, but I would also agree with you. And yet it's a draft, so I've got to go in a different direction. This feels like the Andrew Luck draft. It was kind of a one quarterback draft at the top, at least for me. But all right, I am going to double down on the old fellers. First, I'll take the other incumbent, Russell Wilson.
Makes the most sense. Why are you taking Russell Wilson with your first round pick here, Brian?
Yes, I'm taking Russell Wilson with my first round pick, and mainly just because he was already here. We saw it. They've done business together. Seems like things were maybe a little strained by the end, especially with him and Arthur Smith. But if there's a path forward, maybe they can get that done. And if it's cheap and if Fields goes elsewhere, all that, blah, blah, blah. All right. But I've got to make a second round pick here. And this is where now you start getting into the wild stuff. And I'll just preface everything we say here with this. People are going to laugh at some of these, suggestions.
That's the point.
That's the point. And this time a year ago, we were all sitting here basically having this same discussion, but it was more so framed like this. We know Kenny Pickett's going to be back for year 3 in Pittsburgh, but who's the guy they're going to bring in to compete with him? It'll probably just be Mason Rudolph, right? They'll probably just run it back with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph duking it out in Latrobe. No, they wildly strayed from all of the conventional things. Like, I think maybe the one kind of like big time reporter locally or nationally who even suggested Russell Wilson was Peter King. So I'll tip my cap to him. But I mean, pretty much all of us here in Pittsburgh who are around the team every day said, no, we know how the Steelers think and operate. They're not pulling the plug on Pickett this soon. They'll bring in someone kind of middling to compete with him. Well, we all got thrown for a loop. So I say all that to say, expect the unexpected with the Steelers. If nothing else, under Omar Khan, they've become a moving target when it comes to these quarterback acquisitions. So that's a long preamble to say I'll put Aaron Rodgers as the next guy on my list. He's available. He's available, at least. We know that. So that knocks down a lot of the barriers and obstacles. Like with potential draft options, there's a lot that goes into if they're going to be there or not. Aaron Rodgers is going to be there on the open market if they have any interest at all in saying, we just need your best shot to get Cam Hayward and TJ Watt to the promised land. You have one more good season in you, buddy. And can you not be weird and frustrating and annoying off the field for a season? I don't think that'll happen, but it's my next best guess at this point on February 14th.
I wouldn't touch Aaron Rodgers with a 39.5-foot pole.
I wouldn't either, probably, but this isn't us here talking. What are the Steelers going to look at?
This is true.
I mean, this is the same team that decided that, maybe Russell Wilson still has enough juice left in the tank for us last year. And I don't know. I mean, it's a different situation with Rodgers, but is his A game still better than Russ's A game? I don't know.
It's a good question. When we come back, we finish the draft here, and then we talk about Deebo Samuel. That's next here in the North Shore Drive podcast. But first, we got to remind you the show is brought to you by Edgar Snyder Associates. If you're injured in an accident, you're probably wondering what's next. Well, for over 40 years, Edgar Snyder Associates has helped injured victims answer that very question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, or dealing with the insurance companies, Edgar Snyder Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle the what's next question. Call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit www.edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. Remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. We're back here on the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris Carter, Brian Batko. We are continuing our who starts for the Steelers at quarterback in week 1 next season draft. We have started the draft with my first round pick and Brian's first and second round picks. I have taken Justin Fields, the first overall pick. You have taken Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, the two old man quarterbacks of the NFL, to fit there. So with my second and third round picks, I'm going to go with two other veterans.
Wait, you just get one, right? Now we go back and forth.
Oh, is that how it works? Okay. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1, 2, 2. It was like snake draft, like, but yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, what's the advantage to the person who goes second?
Right.
Okay. So then I get one. Crap. And I'm going to go with a guy who made the playoffs this year with his team, and that's Sam Darnold, because I don't think it would be great. And you and I kind of talked smack about him all season long. I think the Sam Darnold train is going to turn back into a pumpkin at some point. But I give him credit for managing a team where he wasn't like he had supreme playmaking at wide receiver. He made that work. They had an aggressive defense. If the Steelers want to sign Sam Darnold and they can get him for not that expensive, I could see them making an aggressive play in wide receiver. We'll talk about one of those potential moves after this segment. But you could add him to the team. If you get another good you get a good running back and the offensive line takes a step forward, I could see that being a good option. In fact, I would say I'd take him over Aaron Rodgers if I'm the Steelers, if Wilson and Field don't work out.
I wouldn't touch Sam Darnold with a 39.5-foot pole. No, I mean, yeah, we're getting to the point now where it's like, yes, all these guys are flawed, obviously. That's why the Steelers are in this position. But all right, for my next one, I guess I could take another older guy, but I think I got to switch things up. And I'm going to look to the draft, because I think if they don't get Fields, maybe they go for a similar type of player. I know you're a big fan of this guy's work, Chris.
Don't.
We go Jalen Milroe from Alabama.
No, you said Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe, vastly different from Aaron Rodgers, that's for sure.
I mean,
if they my thought process here is if they really lean into the quarterback mobility idea and they strike out on bringing back Fields, then this is probably your next best option in that category. So that's where we're at with that.
Oh boy, But that's where because you know what? I think you're passing up on another person, another mobile quarterback. But he's the kind of quarterback that you bring home to meet your daughter. He brings his lunch pail to work every single day. You passed up, sir, on none other than Mr. Daniel Jones. Find a way to get him on the roster. Yeah. Ryan's face is so funny right now.
Is that actually your pick, though?
Yeah, I'll make him my third round pick.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Arthur Smith and Ryan Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill had a lot more success in Miami than Danny Dimes did in New York. But hey, maybe there's another tall, athletic, kind of derpy quarterback that Arthur Smith can rejuvenate.
And my thing was that if you looked at how Daniel Jones has played over the years, yes, he's not a good quarterback. He's not I know a lot of people are like, Chris, what are you thinking? But here's my thinking on this. You want mobility? That guy still has mobility. He can run. When I know that you look at what the way he plays, and there's a lot of problems there. But one thing that the Giants, when the Giants were competing with the Steelers earlier this season, it was the option that was helping them. And Daniel Jones was the guy running that option. And I think that if you were able to get another athletic running back on your roster and split time with Jaylen Warren, that could be something that's added as a wrinkle to your offense that maybe gives teams a little frustration and gets you an extra point here and there. Again, this is the third pick of our 5-round draft here of players that the Steelers should be considering as potential quarterback options. So we're really getting into the weeds, but he'd be someone on my radar. In fact, again, I'd take him over Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Milroe. I think I'm killing you in this draft. But that's just me. I don't know.
All right,
But
so
anyways,
it's back
good
to
point.
me.
Yes.
I'm going to take now. This one is unlikely, but it's going to be, I think, the best current player of anyone that we've picked so far. So I'm going to bank on maybe the Steelers can take a huge swing and find a way to get this done. Matthew Stafford. It seems like he's not. It seems like he's on the outs in LA.
That's a very good
And his wife's out there Instagramming that the future is blurry, and there's reporting that the Rams might want to move on from him and Cooper Kupp, and I guess rebuild, get younger, all that jazz with Sean McVay. So if that happens, I mean, if he doesn't retire, if he's looking to play somewhere else next year, I don't know. Why not Pittsburgh? You got some talent around you to work with. It's a pipe dream maybe, but I'll add him to my growing list of future Hall of Famers. I guess Matt Stafford's gonna be a Hall of Famer, probably, right?
Yeah, no, he has enough
Yeah.
numbers, and he's a Super Bowl champ. Yeah, him.
I got
Russell,
3 gold jackets now on my squad, and Jalen Milroe, maybe 4 gold jackets.
But buddy, I got Fields, Darnold, and Daniel Jones. That crushes.
This is a great exercise.
This is so bad. But
watch it be someone on neither of our teams by the end. That'd be the funniest. Actually,
Skylar Thompson,
Kyle Allen.
Oh gosh. Okay. Next pick that I'm gonna make here, I'm going to get a jump on the only guy in this draft class that I think would be reasonably positioned for the Steelers to get, who I think could potentially turn out to be a Steeler quarterback, and that's Will Howard out of Ohio State. I like the cut of Will Howard's jib. I think that he plays well. I think he sees the field well. I think he handled some tough moments well. Again, I would not make him my prime target. I'm not saying he should be the first overall pick or even a first-round pick for the Steelers this year, but if he's sitting there in the third or the fourth and you've addressed corner, wide receiver, D-line, and you've done all these other things in free agency in the draft, I would take a shot at him. He is my preferred, not Shador Samuels or Cam Ward quarterback in this draft. In fact, he is my third quarterback that I rank in this draft class just based off of the way that he plays. So he would be my fourth option here. But again, if Will Howard your starting quarterback next year, something either went really, really wrong or something went really, really right, and you're just like, oh no, we got the guy in this draft class.
I think that's a good pick by you at this point in this process, and I'm almost second guessing myself going with Jalen Milroe over him, because I do think that Will Howard's pretty athletic. Like, if you watch if you just watch the national championship game, okay, but like I've seen his basketball highlights from high school, which always like Cooper DeJean, I feel like made that famous, and there's been other guys where it's like, watch this guy move on the basketball court. Like Will Howard, he's what, 6'3", he's 6'4", and like he's got a little mobility to him.
He got some get up to him.
I think he's got some. I think he's got some stuff to him too as a competitor.
Yeah.
Like he took the shot at Penn State. Well, not shot, but like kind of subtle jab at Penn State before they played him. Then he went out and beat them. Now the Steelers Penn State overlapping fans might not like the pick, but I think Will Howard is solid in it, and I almost think it'd be a similar logic to when they took Kenny Pickett. Now, granted, that was in the first round, and I don't know where Will Howard's going to go, but experienced, winning, big enough, fast enough, accurate enough quarterback from the college ranks, and hope he can just kind of hit the ground running in the NFL. So I don't mind that pick at all. I'm going to go with another rookie, though, someone who might have a little higher upside than Howard, but someone who's probably a little bit more of a dart throw. I did consider.
You lose points for trying to throw that pun in before you even say the name. Get out of here.
I did consider Tyler Shuck from Louisville, who is like he's the trendy draft buzz quarterback so far, even though he's like 26 years old. He's approaching Brandon Weeden levels of
grown man.
6 years in college. People always ripped on Kenny Pickett for being 6 years in college. He actually wasn't. He was 5. Tyler Shuck actually is in his 6th year, but he had a really good year at Louisville. And the more I'm seeing like the scouting, the draft analyst folks, and putting out clips on like he's definitely got talent for sure. So I thought about going Tyler Shuck, and this is 2 weeks after I like ripped on I think it was an Athletic mock draft with Bittner, and said it was ridiculous to mock him to the Steelers in the 2nd round. I might have been wrong about that, so to some degree, but you're right, Chris. I'm leaning into the pun. I'll take Jackson Dart to round out my team from Mississippi. Field Yates from ESPN mock drafted him to the Steelers. I think Field's pretty plugged in. That's about as good of a chance as I'm going to get with my 5th and final pick in the Steelers 2025 first snap quarterback draft really rolls off the tongue.
So like the prosecution, I get to open and I get to close.
Yeah,
and
at least Jackson Dart might be there at 21 overall. Probably will be there.
He should be, but in my opinion, he should not be the pick at 21 overall. I mean, I
don't think so either. But
I haven't exactly studied quarterback that deeply this year. I'm looking at all these other positions first before I even get there. But just what I see, I'm like, you know what, 5th round. Okay, great steal, but not in the first. But anyway,
I mean, I took two rookies for my team, mainly because I just think if you're trying to do it somewhat rationally, if they strike out on some of these big trade or free agent targets who are bona fide starters, then you might have to go the draft route, I guess.
Or you go the route that you've gone before and you bring back Mason Rudolph. That is my 5th round pick. You say, you know what, Mason, we loved you all along. It should have been you. Get Mason Rudolph back in here. That way, when they're 9-7 and they need that 10th win and it's Christmas Day, actually it would be New Year's, but you know what I mean. They're late in the season. Then we can all make Rudolph puns again. We missed out on the Rudolph puns in this Christmas season. I'm going with Mason Rudolph as my 5th round pick here in this quarterback draft class. And that concludes our draft, as my team was from first to last: Justin Fields, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Will Howard, and Mason Rudolph. Brian's was
so you definitely went, let's just say, like, you went more moderate, I think would maybe be a good word for it. Like, or realistic potentially.
I'm swinging for singles here, man. Right. I'm not going for the fences.
Yes, you're running a West Coast offense and checking it down, which is not a shot at those 5 guys.
But you are going for home runs here. Russell Wilson, but Aaron Rodgers, big swing there. Matt Stafford, really big swing there. Jalen, in order: Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Milroe, Matthew Stafford, Jackson Dart. Those are some bigger swings. Again, now, so we both be I might be batting like 250. You might be batting 180 with a couple homers. That might be the way we're looking at it here. But the reason we did this exercise, y'all, and what you're probably, if you're still listening to this or watching this, the reason we're doing this is because we're showing you this is why the Steelers quarterback situation is so big. There's just not a great field of quarterbacks to choose from right now, at least in our eyes. Maybe Tom Brady is sitting in this draft class and we don't know about it.
Yeah, maybe Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin are like, no, we know who we want. We're gonna move swiftly for this guy, and we're gonna be good. But yeah, I mean, it's very tough to predict for sure. Yeah, and who did so if the funniest scenario comes to pass and none of these 10 guys are there taking the first snap for them, who would it be? Neither of us took Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is so, like, you looked at his arm at the end of this year, like Aaron Rodgers looks washed. Russell Wilson looks like he could be on the verge of being washed. Kirk Cousins is like washed, dried, put away, and like in the laundry basket right now.
I saw somebody said somewhere, they're like, oh, quarterback 2nd year removed from the torn Achilles, then they can actually look a little bit better and move around a little more. I'm like, I don't know. But I did get an odds maker email yesterday from what is this site? I'm sorry, this is bad podcast. Bookies.com. And they had Kirk Cousins as their leader for Steelers starting QB odds. And we didn't even take him through 10 rounds or 5 rounds, I guess. But I don't know.
If it's not any of those guys, I go with like Marcus Mariota or like Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I don't think he and Arthur Smith ended very well in Atlanta. But
well, then never mind. Take him off.
Yeah,
take him off the list.
There's a whole other like steerage class of potential. Like, do you trade for a Malik Willis or Joe Milton, Will Levis, like that group of people where it would just be like, I don't know.
If I redid my list, Joe Milton would be on it. I'd like this
because someone's got to probably trade for him, right? Just what he showed at the end of last season, being blocked by Drake May. It makes sense for the Patriots to deal him, and it's one of the other 31 GMs is going to be like, oh, it's in there with him. But he was a 60. He was kind of like Tyler Shuck last year. He was a 6th-year guy too, with huge arm and good running ability. But yeah, would the Colts get rid of Anthony Richardson this soon? Seems like things are pretty bad there in Indy for him. But
do you want Anthony Richardson when he's like not wanting to play? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's the one thing that Mike Tomlin's like, no, if you don't want to go on the field, that I can't help with that.
Neither of us took Joe Flacco. Or Jameis.
Or Jameis. Jameis is just the antithesis Steelers quarterback, just completely goofy and turns the ball over every time.
Yeah.
Does throw some amazing touchdowns.
The way he ended last season, I don't think anybody could let him be their first quarterback in 2024.
No.
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett was on my list. He was another guy that, like, if all else failed.
I like the backup QB commercial. Would he still be able to do that if he becomes a starting quarterback in Pittsburgh or somewhere else?
He'd lose his sponsorship, which is maybe why he wouldn't want to come to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we got to talk about Deebo Samuel. I'm going to put out a poll here on social media to see who won the quarterback draft here. We'll do that there. So vote that on Blue Sky or Twitter, wherever I do it on. But just a reminder, the show is also brought to you by Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci, your mesothelioma and asbestos lawyers with over 85 years of experience. Call them today for a free consultation. That's Savinas, Kane, and Gallucci. We're also brought to you by Moon Township Honda, where you can get your new Honda vehicle at 5802 University Boulevard in Moon Township, PA, or visit their website at moonhonda.com. Here's a message from our friends at Moon Township Honda.
We gave the all-electric Prologue EX class-leading passenger space. And we made its tech intuitive with Google built-in. Perhaps that's why we were named Best Overall EV and Hybrid Brand by Kelley Blue Book. It's nice when a dream comes together. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or visit your local Honda dealer today.
We're back here in the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Chris Carter, Brian Batko. Brian, let's talk about another position the Steelers are going to address in this offseason at some point, somehow. But wide receiver is one position, and there's one veteran receiver who's been in the news a lot more this week about them moving up, the team most likely moving on from them. That's Deebo Samuel. Now, Deebo Samuel, of course, is a guy part of the 49ers. Everyone's looking at Brandon Aiyuk last season. When Brandon Aiyuk got his deal, everyone kind of looked at Deebo Samuel like, ooh, buddy, looks like you're not long for Candlestick. But is Deebo Samuel someone that the Steelers should have on their radar? Because there's people talking about with the state of his contract, he might just get straight up cut by the Niners. And if you wait things out, you may just be able to get him in the Steelers offense. And we know that Arthur Smith likes to use receivers and running backs and tight ends in odd sorts of ways. Deebo Samuel seems like that's who he's been for most of his career. Is he someone that could be targeted by the Steelers as a major upgrade at wide receiver, or are you sour on him at this point?
I don't think he'd be a major upgrade. And I mean, as much as I want to say that I've soured on him, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. I mean, you look at what the Steelers have coming back at wide receiver, and you consider the George Pickens conundrum on your hands, and it's not a great free agent class for wideouts either, Chris. So, I mean, I guess I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's probably more likely than Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is going to go somewhere where he knows he's going to a Super Bowl contender, and he's like the quarterback situation's figured out. The offensive coaching staff's going to have a plan for him. Like, I don't think he would even want to come to Pittsburgh, even if Pittsburgh really likes him. So, yeah, I mean, Deebo might be the best of a lot of uninspiring options. Perhaps he would be motivated to stick it to San Francisco because it seems like things are going to end pretty poorly for him there. I don't know if I'd have to go back and look if Mike Tomlin and he had any sort of like draft interaction or what Tomlin has said about him over the years. But I mean, there was one Deebo who worked out really well in Pittsburgh once upon a time. So why not a second? But no, I think if he's not capable of being your number 2 receiver, maybe he's your Najee Harris replacement, full-time running back, baby. I don't think Deebo would sign up for that, but
no, he would not.
6 foot 215. He's a lot bigger than Jalen Warren, and you don't really have many answers in the backfield room right now either if Najee doesn't return. So, hey, you've got Calvin Austin coming back. You've got Roman Wilson, a complete, mystery box there. And you've got George Pickens and all that comes with that. So Deebo, would he upset the apple cart with Pickens? Would Pickens feel threatened by that? I don't know. But if he's coming in here on, like you said, Chris, if he gets cut and it's a really cheap 1-year prove it deal or something, maybe it doesn't cause any sort of tension. But I guess I'm talking in circles here, but I think it's possible, but I don't think it would be this huge, like, yes, the Steelers need to make sure they get this done to fix their wide receiver group.
That's the thing here is that if Deebo Samuel's a move, he is part of a series of moves. He is a puzzle piece at this point.
Yeah, it's not a one sledgehammer strike. All right,
right.
We fixed it.
This isn't going and signing T. Higgins, which I'm not even sure they'll be able to do
exactly.
Because I think that the Bengals are going to tag him and trade him and make sure he doesn't stay in the AFC North. But if they sign T. Higgins, that's okay. I think we've kind of addressed this. Now let's just draft a guy in the third round and we'll just see where that goes. And make a move there. But Deebo Samuel could be an option for the Steelers, but I don't even think he's a wide receiver 2 at this point. I think he's a wide receiver 3 size sort of flex player with the way that he's kind of been. He's got a lot of mileage on him. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's 29 years old. All those things just scream to me. Not so sure that I'd want to roll with that as like a major addition.
I think there were talks that he showed up out of shape too last year for the Niners, and there were questions about how motivated he is, but maybe he was just disillusioned by the whole Aiyuk thing, and perhaps he'd be rejuvenated here or somewhere else and be the old Deebo again. But the way he plays the position, you lose a step at all. His game was predicated on the burst and the quickness and being slippery and tough to bring down. So that's a bit of a tough sell for me.
I'm right with you. I think that and this is the thing. I know a lot of people are really excited about the idea of just adding big name wide receivers, and they look at their fantasy teams like, oh yeah, that guy did something. I think the Steelers need an out. If they're going to get someone big, it needs to be someone that plays on the outside that can line up there, win deep balls, win in traditional outside receiver role type things. They have slot guys. They have guys that they can move around the formation. Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson. That's what they've been doing. That's why I don't think they should go get Cooper Kupp. I think that if you get Deebo Samuel, he kind of fits more in that extra role of a wide receiver, and you still need to go get somebody, which is why Cortland Sutton or just anybody else that plays on the outside. Heck, drafting like Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State in the draft, I would do as the other move, and I would put him as my number 2 wide receiver that lines up on the outside next to George Pickens, while then also moving Deebo Samuel around. But
there is going to be one guy out there on the wide receiver free agent market, and like he kind of fits the role that you're talking about. He's a bigger guy. He can get downfield. He's averaged a lot of yards per catch over the course of his career. He's got some injury issues, and he didn't really play much at his last stop. But early in his career, Mike Williams with the Chargers, was really a good big play threat. I wonder if the Steelers would look into somebody like that this offseason.
That's a good question. I think that's the big, and that's the thing that we're going to keep monitoring here for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and the North Shore Drive podcast, because just the last year there was no big move at wide receiver. They drafted Roman Wilson, they ran it back. I just I'm a little
Van Jefferson.
That was not
Scotty Miller.
Okay, there you go.
Quez Watkins.
I forgot they even had Quez Watkins. Heck,
he's still on the practice squad all season.
Yeah, I forgot all about that guy. But the quote unquote big move was Mike Williams, and then they barely used him in the offense. So I don't know. I feel like if there's going to be a move, it has to be for a player that they know they're going to use a lot. So that's kind of that's kind of what we're working here. But that's where the Steelers are. There's still a lot of places to go. There's also, as I remind people every year, it's where we're recording this literally mid-February on Valentine's Day. There are so many things that are going to happen before free agency opens up. Franchise tags, players getting cut, more players being thrown on the trade block publicly, privately, that we won't know about. And it always makes for a crazy free agent season in the NFL. And then you get to the draft. So there's plenty of things that could still happen. There's plenty of trades that are still on the table. But exploring Deebo Samuel's, my point here is, if you're going with Deebo, he is part of a series of moves that you're going to use to fix wide receiver. He is no longer the guy to fix your wide receiver room by himself.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe AJ Brown's gonna be like, "Hey, winning the Super Bowl was cool and all, but I need my touches, man. Get me back with Arthur Smith," and boom.
Totally. That's
exactly
DK
Metcalf, and then bring back Russ, and then I win the quarterback draft as well. Hey, neither of us took Trevor Lawrence.
I'm glad. I'm glad neither of us paid any attention to that nonsense that came out Thursday. There you have it. That's a good place to end it before we get even crazier here. He's Brian Batko. I'm Chris Carter. Find us here on the North Shore Drive podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of those episodes. Be sure to subscribe to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette at post-gazette.com. Back here Monday with Ray Fittipaldo with more on the Steelers right here on the North Shore Drive podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the North Shore Drive podcast from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all the sports coverage from the Post-Gazette that we have to offer, visit post-gazette.com.